Hello and welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I'm your host, Gabe Peterson, and this is the place investors go to gain actionable advice, learn about current market trends, and hear war stories from other professional investors out there in the field today. Before we get started, I have two quick housekeeping items for you. First, if you like this episode, we would very much appreciate a like, subscribe, and share. It is the best way to support the show and keep it running far into the future. Second, if you're a new investor looking to get started in real estate or an experienced investor looking to take your investing to the next level, I've created an ebook just for you that will cover how to find deals that are actually deals, how to finance those deals with little to no money down, and how to exit those deals for maximum value. On top of that, I throw in an insane amount of free bonuses that you'll have access to once you buy the ebook. All I charge is our admin costs to keep this show running. So if you're serious about real estate investing and want to create both active and passive income as an investor, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com and click on the button that says get the ebook in the upper right-hand corner to grab yourself a copy. With that said, let's dive right in. Today we have a very special guest with us, ready to drop some investor knowledge on you. So buckle up, grab your pen and paper, and enjoy the ride. All right, we are live with another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. Today we have with us Logan Freeman. Logan is the founder of Live Free Investments. He specializes in helping out-of-state investors actively and passively invest in Kansas City, Missouri through his brokerage and syndications. Logan, thank you very much for hopping on the show today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Gabe. We're finishing up. This is a Friday. We're recording, so finishing up some great projects. And I was telling you before we got started, I started a new kettlebell club challenge, and it's been kicking my butt every Friday. So I just got done doing that workout and feeling a little drained right now, but I'm going to bring the fire.
I love it, man. I'm a huge workout fanatic, and I have been meaning to get into kettlebells for a while now, but I haven't. So maybe after the show, you'll have to tell me a little bit more about that.
I'd be happy to.
But we always start with stories. We like to go back to the beginning. So why don't you take us back to where Logan first got into real estate? How'd you get started, and what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely, Gabe. So 7 years ago, I was forcefully exited from the NFL, meaning I was cut from the Oakland Raiders. And, I had a big decision to make. I always identified as an athlete my whole life, and, that was taken away from me. And so I said, okay, well, what am I going to do? So finished my master's program, went back to school. At the NFL Combine, I weighed 335 pounds. In less than 6 months, I lost about 120 pounds, which is kind of crazy. But I lost a bunch of weight, went back to school, finished my master, program, got a job. Then, something big happened too. My dad passed away from his battle with drugs and alcohol addiction. And so in a matter of 6 months, I went from this athlete who had everything going from him and literally 4 or 5 things just kind of taken away from me, so to speak. And so I used that as an opportunity to reinvent myself, start to educate myself, and figure out how to set myself up for success. And so I started listening to podcasts. This was back when, podcasts were not what they are today, right? I mean, it was
Joe Fairless out there.
It was Joe Fairless. It was, John Lee Dumas with Entrepreneur on Fire.
That's how I got started. I love that guy.
Yeah, Lewis Howes with the School of Greatness, man. Those were my guys. And I listened to those. Through that, I was exposed to Robert Kiyosaki. So I started listening to all of their stuff and then Audible. And so I had this drive, about an hour and a half drive to and from work every single morning and evening. And so I turned my car into the classroom on wheels. I have a bunch of CDs, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, all of these CDs still that I listen to as well. And I started getting exposed to thinking differently. And so when I moved to Kansas City, I bought my first property. It was a house that I did a live-in flip on. And, when I flipped that house 12 months later, I did a lot of the construction myself, and I had a renter, and it was great. But I also made more money on that flip than my salary was that year. And I was like, something's not right here. I work 50 hours a week for $50,000 at the time. And, I made 50 grand in 12 months with a flip. I think that something's wrong here. So that kind of piqued my interest. I did that a few times, took a couple other jobs, but now it'd be 4 years ago, I was fired from my cushy 6-figure sales job here in Kansas City. That's the time that I said, okay, it's time for me to go into real estate. And it's time for me to, create my own financial future. So I started a consulting company, and I took a head of acquisitions position with a $50 million fund here in Kansas City. And we helped those guys acquire 265 single family homes in Kansas City. I did 120 in 10 months. At the end of that, I was starting to buy my own apartment complexes and broker apartment complexes. And so I started to get into that. I ran out of money, and I said, hey, those guys are that sponsors of that fund. I said, where'd you come up with the money? I mean, surely you don't have $50 million. Maybe you do, but they said, no, it was a syndication. That word I had never heard before. So I started researching and started reading books. The Principles of Syndication was a book I read from the godfather of real estate. I can't even remember his name. No, it's not Sam Zell. It was, golly, he's been on Ruben Gress podcast, but old guy, been doing it for a long time. And his book is like a textbook. And so definitely read that.
Freshman, that's the name.
Yeah, there it is. Freshman. Yeah. And then I found Michael Blanc, and then I found Joe Fairless, and I found those guys. I started going to their events, and that was 4 years ago. And I really didn't start buying stuff or syndicating stuff until 2 years ago. And I've completed about 15 or 16 projects, and have about 790 units here in Kansas City now, a couple hotels, and we've just been scaling like crazy. So that's kind of how I got started and where I'm at now.
Man, I love it. I love turnaround stories. So you got fired and you turned it around. And then I love stories where it's just kind of, it comes out of nowhere. You went from 0 to 100 in 4 years, which is, people always think that it's going to take a decade for me to become financially free. But when you're talking about real estate, that is not the case. Just period. You can do it in much less time. You cannot do it in 1 month, but you can do it in a few years for sure.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And you also mentioned you lost 120 pounds. I don't want to turn this into a fitness episode, but damn, man, 6 months. Real quick, well, how'd you get there? How'd you
it was wild, man. So it was right after I got cut. I had a few months before I was going to school again. And so I created what's called the gauntlet, and this was brutal. I had a bunch of old free weights, old bars. I would take them out in my front yard, and I created a circuit, man. And so I would lay concrete for 8 hours a day. So I was out in the sun, sweating, pouring concrete, rebar, all of it. I get home. Before I even walked in, I would change my shoes, and I would work out in the front yard for about an hour and a half. My mom thought I was absolutely crazy because I was living with my mom for about 2 months after I got cut. And I really didn't eat. I mean, it was not healthy. I ate
That's
tuna.
The secret. You just don't eat.
Tuna, chicken. I can't eat chicken like I used to. I can't eat any tuna now because I ate so much, and broccoli. I mean, this is a fun story. You'll get a kick out of this. My mom and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings with my sister. I was so anal about what I put in my mouth that I asked the waiter what was in their dry rub on their chicken wings. I was messed up.
Just eat it. Come on.
I was messed up in the head, but I'm extremist, right? I really am polarizing. I kind of go all in, and so that's how I lost 100 pounds. I put a little bit back on now, but I was very extreme and disciplined at that time.
And it's paid off because you need discipline in order to be successful in this business, and you've gotten there. So congratulations on that. So, I mean, you went from one flip, you made more on that first flip than you did in, the salary that you had at the time, which is $50,000. I can attest to that. Like, I've had an experience like that. I was working corporate, and then, I did a flip, and I didn't make more than I was making, but I made almost the same amount. I'm like, damn, this is money.
It is.
So how'd you go from, I mean, you already mentioned a little bit of your trajectory, but how did you go from that first flip to the first, major deal that you did?
Yeah, well, I got to play with house money. So when I was fired from my job, I legitimately went into a role that the money was there in an account, And it was my job to go find off-market deals that they could do the BRRRR strategy, right? To buy, renovate, rent it out, and refinance. But it was at scale. So I just got dumped into the fire, and it was just like all of this coming at me at once. But I created a recipe or an equation, however you want to look at this, right? So I looked at this, I created this equation. I said, what are the variables that I need to figure out for this equation? Well, I need deal flow, okay? I need negotiation and tactics, okay? And then I need basically, I just need numbers. And so I created that equation. So it's deal flow, negotiation and tactics, and just numbers, pure number game. Because in real estate, in this game that I was playing, it was, time is of the essence. And so I would take my little Chevy Malibu. If it was snowing, if it was raining, it didn't matter. I was out looking at 14 to 15 houses 4 times a week. And I was walking every single one of those properties with a notepad, writing down the renovation. I was estimating the rehab. I built a pro forma from scratch, so I knew how the numbers worked. I was building an investor list off of Bigger Pockets for the deals that the fund did not buy. And I just went to work, man. I stayed disciplined. I stayed focused. And then I read every negotiation book I could. Chris Voss, Donald Trump, you name it. I read all of these different negotiation books, and I figured out a way to get off-market deal flow. And I would build my relationships with these other brokers who were basically representing these investment funds that were wholesaling these deals, or they were buying them at scale. And then they would get backlogged. Their general contractors would get backlogged. So they couldn't finish all the deals. I said, hey, give me exposure to your list. I'll get you offers on every single one of them. And so I started building those relationships. I used Craigslist. I made it my job to know every property manager in the city. Hey, whenever your client's ready to buy, if you want to keep this property, in-house, no problem. I'll bring you an offer. So, I created this kind of equation. I figured out the variables, and I started solving for each one. And that was how I had a ton of success in the single family home space. So I got to play with house money is what I said. So I got 100 plus transactions under my belt before I ever did my first own, transaction. But I also got exposure to see the single family game. And I said, okay, that's not what I want to play. I want to go buy an apartment complex that has 12, 15, 100 of those instead of, these single family homes, because I saw the scale that it would take for somebody to get, actually cash flow and not be super risky if you don't have, a bunch of rentals. So I started educating myself about multifamily. I took my idea to the broker that I was working at the time. He said, hey, I don't have any experience in multifamily. That's the big boys game. You need to go, figure it out somewhere else. And so I did. I left that firm. I moved my license to a commercial multifamily brokerage firm. I started educating myself, started to build my own investor list. And then I started to actually put offers in on multifamily deals and commercial buildings, and bought a couple myself first, because I'm a big believer that I can't broker or syndicate anything that I haven't done before, right? So I had to go through that pain, and it was painful. I learned a lot on those first transactions by myself, and so that has just continued to scale. I learned early on that I can't do everything. I'm really good at a few things, but I'm really bad at some of the other pieces that are really, really important to the new equation that I was working at. So I solved for those variables by finding partners that had operational experience. They had real estate development experience, construction experience. I brought my idea to them, and we formed a new kind of company that we were able to kind of scale up. And so and then COVID happened, and that allowed us to really, really put the kind of what I'll call the gas on the fire, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to go in there. I was taking notes, but then I was just like, man, I can't keep taking notes here. One thing that you mentioned, like in everything that you were saying, is you were at a single family brokerage, and they were saying, we can't do that. Multifamily is a completely different deal. You have to go somewhere else. And I find, like, I've purchased multifamily and single family, and I've and operated them, and it really isn't. I mean, there are differences, obviously, but real estate in my mind is real estate. It's the steps are essentially the same. There are nuances, but the steps are the same when you're looking at them from the big picture. And so, if anybody really does want to be financially free, I personally suggest they just go to whatever they want. If it's multifamily, go to multifamily. If it's single family, go to single family. You don't have to go through the steps that everybody suggests.
Yeah. There's a big kind of controversy on, Grant Cardone And the Bigger Pockets guys got on a podcast way back when, because he kept touting, you can't buy anything that's below 32 units. That's malarkey, man. You should not go start on a 32 unit deal by yourself if you've never done it before. There's so many bad things that can happen. You're probably going to get raked over the coals. A broker's going to, just because a property appraises for the value doesn't mean it's worth that. Okay, guys, like that's the true essence of this business. So if you're comfortable with single family, start in single family. I have so many folks that reach out to me. Where should I start? What should I do? I said, look, start with the end in mind. What is your goal? Do you want to be an active investor? Do you want to be a passive investor? And what takes stock of the relationships that you have, the experience that you have, and the capital that you can outlay, and most importantly, the time. And so whenever you start breaking this thing down into the different components, you're able to really help people see, what they actually want. And that's my consultative kind of approach that I try to help people through. But there's not a one size fits all, Gabe.
Yep, absolutely. So this is a really short format, so I'm going to scoot us along here a little bit.
Okay.
We're not going on the quick question round yet, but I do want to focus on your bread and butter right now. Syndication, that's what you're doing. That's your focus. So first, give people a quick overview of what syndication is, and then kind of how a syndication runs differently than your typical go out and purchase a property with maybe you and two partners.
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes down to scale, and it comes down to syndication is a business, and buying real estate can be a quote unquote hobby, right? Like if you want to go buy a piece of real estate with a buddy or two, so that's fine. But that's more of a hobby. Syndication is a business. We're talking about buying large assets that people don't have exposure to, one from a deal flow standpoint, but two, they don't think that big. They're like, man, I'm not going to ever be able to buy a $10 million property by myself. Well, no, but if you go solve for the different variables that we've talked about, then you can. So syndication is just, the definition of it is a pooling of resources to work towards a common goal. And so what's really interesting is the last 4 years, I've been watching kind of this educational circuit about syndication. And a lot of the big guys this year have kind of turned into more coaches and mentors and masterminds and things like that. And so there's a whole business that serves the educational platform too. What you need to do is actually figure out where you want to fit in this whole kind of circle, in this regime of multifamily syndication. Or just commercial real estate syndication. What I recommend folks doing is breaking down the operations piece and figuring out who you feel comfortable actually operating the real estate, because behind every single real estate deal, you can make a pitch deck look wonderful. You can make all of these things look beautiful and pretty, but you have to figure out that, there's people behind the real estate who are making the decisions. Have they gone full cycle on things? So a syndication is simply the pooling of resources to go buy a larger asset that you wouldn't, be able to do by yourself. And I think that's, a pretty good definition of it, Gabe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at its very core, that is really what it is. It's just getting a whole bunch of people together, putting your money together, and then buying something larger than any one of you could individually buy.
And
so
then, go ahead.
I was actually I'm going to push us into the quick question round because we are at the 20-minute mark. And so quick question round is really simple. I'm going to ask quick questions. You give me quick answers, and it starts with books. So I'm a big proponent of books. So give me 2 book recommendations. Exactly. You're sitting in an entire row of them. So you can't pass this one up. 2 book recommendations, one for real estate and then one for general life wisdom.
All right. So on the real estate side, I'm actually going to say that people should read a book from the late Bob Helms. And it's the real estate guy's Robert Helms' father. I've met him in person. It's called Be in the Top 1%. And this is actually geared towards real estate agents that want to serve the investment world. But I want investors to read this book, because if they read this book, they'll start to understand what's going on in brokers' minds. And if you understand what's going on in a broker's mind, then you can build relationships with them. I'm a big proponent, not just because I am a broker. I'm represented on multiple deals right now by other brokers. And so I like to recommend this book, only for the fact that you want to build relationships with these brokers so you start to get deal flow. So Be in the Top 1% by Bob Helms.
Awesome. I love it. And that's the real estate one. How about one for general life wisdom?
Man, I'm huge right now on the Tools of Titans book by Tim Ferriss, and it's right up here. Well, it's out of the frame, so you can't see it. But I'm really figuring out how to subtract to actually multiply right now. And Tim Ferriss is a big proponent of breaking down successful people. And I like to pick that book up, see what's going on in his mind and how he's asking these questions to these really successful people to see what I can apply to my business. I don't read it cover to cover. I look at the topics that he's got, see what's going on in my business, and then I go find where I can get some resources in the Tools of the Titans. So I'm recommending that book right now. It's a monster. Don't try to read it cover to cover. I don't think that's the best way to do it.
I like that. I like that idea though. Subtract to multiply. Who was it? It was like Einstein or something.
Yeah,
said,
and then Peter Drucker.
Make something complicated. Peter Drucker. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice. Tools of Titans, and then be in the top 1%. Next question is your younger self. So you could go back to the Logan who, let's say, was still, trying out for the Raiders. He was, he had high hopes for his NFL dream. Go back to him, sit him down in the locker room, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
You might feel like you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, but the older you get, the less you know.
So true.
I got cut from the Oakland Raiders because I had too much pride. I physically was better than a lot of the linemen out there. Mentally, I was not even where I needed to be at all to be an NFL football player. So I would say you don't know everything. You might feel like you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, but man, you got a lot to learn. So, don't always think that you know the best route to doing something. That would be what I would tell myself.
I like it. That is good advice. Next question is a chance for you to flex. So put on your Superman outfit. Tell us, what is your superpower? What are you the best at?
Yeah, I'm the best at, what I would say, creating discipline and focus and just showing up every single day. And it's been my superpower for a long time is just understanding the fact that you have to embrace the suck, embrace the grind, and be smart about it, but also don't shy away from it. And in this real estate space, in just being an entrepreneur in general, you're going to feel anxiety. You're going to feel stress. You're going to feel pressure. That's good. Step back into it, because everybody else that's being mediocre or is a jag, I call them a jag, just another guy, just another girl, right? A jag. They don't want to feel that. So they put themselves in positions in life that they don't, but they're also going to be comfortable for the rest of their lives. But you have to understand that you are going to be up, you're going to be down. It's your goal to figure out how to stay really, really smooth throughout the process.
I love it. Final question. Well, second to last question, actually. This one, I think I already know the answer to, since you're kind of focused in Kansas City there, but I always like to ask, what is your favorite place to invest in today?
Yeah, it would have to be Kansas City. It's my own backyard. That's what I would say. A lot of folks say you can't invest in your backyard. I actually say that there's deal states and there's money states. But for me, I'm grateful enough and lucky enough to be in a market that I can invest in. So I would say that, I'm highly focused in Kansas City, Missouri.
Cool. I love it. I just bought a place out in, I'm like putting the entire Midwest into one area, but I bought a place in Cleveland, which I know is not near Kansas City, but in my mind it's related. So
it's in the Midwest.
So awesome. The very last question, and this one is for the listeners. You've given us a lot of good advice about syndications and just how to grow a real estate business. So I'm sure there's people out there that want to reach out. What's the best way for them to do that?
You got to follow me on LinkedIn, Gabe. That's where I show up every single day posting original content. So Logan Freeman on LinkedIn. You'll be driven to a website, livefreeinvestments.com. I've got 3 or 4 websites. You'll be able to find it off of LinkedIn, though.
Perfect. I will put that his LinkedIn URL in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out to Logan, just click the little more in the description, pop down the full description. In there, you can find the URL, click through, say hi to Logan. Logan, again, thank you for hopping on the show today. Pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Gabe.
Absolutely. For everybody who's here with us, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason that we do this. So we appreciate having you here. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, share this episode with your friends and family. Other than that, I hope you guys have a kick-ass week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed putting it on, and we're able to pull some actionable advice that you can apply in your own investing today in the field. Before you go, we have a gift for you. If you're a new investor looking to get started or an established investor looking to take your investing to the next level, I've created an ebook just for you, available on our website. This ebook will cover how I was able to create both active and passive income in real estate with very little money to start with. In it, I will address the 3 most often cited obstacles new and veteran investors run into by showing you how to find deals that are actually deals, how to finance a deal with little to no money down, and how to exit those deals for maximum value. And if you get the ebook today, I am throwing in a bundle of bonuses, 7 of them to be exact. The first one will be the off-market lead generation blueprint, which will take you through the exact systems and processes we use to generate off-market leads like clockwork, which is the most important skill when it comes to creating wealth in real estate. The second bonus is the A to Z REI systems and vendors guide, which will allow you to peek under the hood of our business and see the exact tools, systems, and even the vendors we use to see the success that we do. And the third bonus is the top 100 best performing keywords pack, which will give you the exact keywords we use to target motivated sellers online using PPC ads. The fourth bonus is our contracts bundle for wholesaling and renting real estate, which will give you access to all the contracts we use in the field to execute all different types of transactions. After that is the Investors Quick Analysis Calculator and Offer Tool, which will allow you to quickly calculate whether a deal is an actual deal and will allow you to create an offer automatically from those calculations. This is a lot of bonuses that I said. I'm just going to keep going down the list. Number 6 is the Investors Daily Success Tracker, which is a tracker you can use to ensure you are taking the right actions day in and day out to reach your financial goals in real estate. And the last bonus is the Wholesalers Template for Quick Assignment Cash, which will give you the templates we use to present our wholesale deals professionally and efficiently to our buyers. Whew, that is a bundle. So it's a mouthful. You get all of those bonuses for free when you download the ebook. All we charge is the admin cost to run the show. So if you're interested in the ebook and the bonus bundle, head on over to the website at therealestateinvestingclub.com. Click on Get the Ebook Bundle at the top of the page to take advantage of that deal. And with that said, I hope you have a fantastic day and even better week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.